We're gonna start this early because I don't really have anything to set up. Hello, my name is Adam. Hi, and I am an alcoholic. So I run a YouTube channel called YourMovieSucks.org. And I rip on movies, and I make fun of them. Sometimes I say good things about movies every once in a while. Show of hands, who's here because they watch my YouTube channel? Show of hands, who's hungover? I had fun, though. Austin's a fun place. So essentially, I was here last year, and I did a panel on copyright and fair use. And I guess last year I didn't really understand what I was signing up for when I decided to do that, because when it came down to it, and as it was getting closer to the convention, I realized that, you know, I was essentially making an essay, and I had like 50 pages of notes, all on like legal issues that I was very, very scared that I would accidentally misrepresent. So I made sure to like essentially study like I was in college. This year we're doing something a little bit more relaxed. I just thought that I would call this a film discussion panel and Q&A. So essentially, yeah, just a few things that I know that I'm confident kind of rambling or ranting about related to movies, since that's my YouTube channel anyway. And then after I run out of things in my notes, I guess, then we can just do Q&A. And if there's anything that you would like me to further elaborate on, or if there's a topic that you'd like me to rant about or whatever, or just general questions, that's fine. But yeah, since this panel's starting like pretty early, it's probably just going to be like a really long Q&A session. But if you guys are okay with that, I'm okay with it. I'm down to just hang out. It's like hanging out with your best buds. Well, and also one of them is on stage with a microphone. But that's how I hang out with all my friends. I need to make sure to keep them in their place. I have a setup at home. It's the exact same thing. So yeah, I just have a few notes of things I wanted to talk about. I'd like to talk about film, specifically how we view film. Where am I? I already just did the whole first page without even realizing it. Now, something that I keep hearing over and over again from a variety of people is that there's no good movies today. Movies are not as good as they used to be. A lot of people will compare, you know, the pool of films that are currently in theaters and reminisce of better times in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, etc., when films were actually good. And they'll look at everything in theaters and be like, sequel, reboot, remake, superhero movie, sequel based on a novel, like no original ideas whatsoever. Now, there's some truth to this for sure, but I don't think it's exactly true in the way that most people think it is. It's immediate. It's very easy to look at what's being sold to you and immediately get discouraged into believing there's no original ideas anymore. But I can think of at least one movie coming out pretty soon that is not a sequel or a remake. The Emoji Movie. It's gonna be the best movie ever made, I swear. Instant classic. But in all seriousness, I think it's important to understand that no matter which year or decade you look at, most major releases are god-awful. They suck. And that's part of the reason why I have a channel. Most movies are crap. And I love film. I love films that I can relate to emotionally, that I can view and be impressed by. But you got to dig through a lot of crap to find the great movies. However, there have definitely been some outstanding years for film in particular. So if you're going to look at specific years like 1994, we got like Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, Shawshank Redemption, The Lion King, Clerks. 1999, I would probably consider to be one of the best years for film ever. Tons of stuff, a whole list of stuff right here. American Beauty, Fight Club, The Matrix, Sixth Sense, Green Mile, Office Space, Boys Don't Cry, Eyes Wide Shut, Blair Witch Project, American Pie, The Iron Giant, Being John Malkovich, Toy Story 2, Magnolia, The Boondock Saints, Audition. All that came out in 1999. So, sorry? I think that was 97. Fact check me right now. Look it up. I don't know. I don't know. It might have been 99. Oh, was it? Okay. So if you want to say that film will never be as good as it was specifically in 1999, then that's probably true. If we ever get a year like that again, I will be ecstatic. That would be awesome. It seems as though everybody was trying to get out their best ideas before the Y2K apocalypse, really. I don't know. If you ignore those two particularly fantastic specific years for film, you'll find that most years kind of sucked. If you go on Wikipedia and look up the list of all the major film releases in 1996, you'll see that for the most part it's just forgettable movie after forgettable movie, and this is true for pretty much every year. That's what I wound up doing for my April Fool's video with Tyrone, the top 10 1996. I literally just, I scavenged Wikipedia to find like the most forgettable films that I possibly could for the most part. Like that one Whoopi Goldberg film, Bogus. Watch the full trailer, it's nuts. That's a movie that could only exist in 1996. And it was a major release, like people gave it money. Very strange trailer. I really want to watch the movie. I can't believe I stumbled across it, and that even the official trailer on YouTube, on Warner Brothers' YouTube channel, only had like 1,000 views or something. Like literally forgettable. Like nobody remembers that movie. Maybe. But when we think back about any decade of film, whether that be the 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s, we're not really going to remember the films that were forgettable. When we think of the 60s, we think of 2001: A Space Odyssey, but we don't think of Manos: The Hands of Fate. Although that film could arguably be considered not forgettable in many ways, but that was just an example of a bad film that we don't really consider to represent the decade. When we think of the 70s, we think of Jaws or The Godfather, but we don't think of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. When we think of the 80s, we think of Star Wars or The Shining, but we don't think of Mac and Me or Jim Cotta. Heavily recommend Jim Cotta, by the way. It is bonkers. Essentially, it's a action martial arts film, but the martial arts is gymnastics. And all throughout the film, they're just like conveniently placed bars everywhere that he's able to like swing across. Yeah, the whatever that thing's called. Yeah, just a bunch of gymnastic equipment scattered across this like Mongolian town for some reason that he's able to use to his advantage and beat up the bad guys. It's pretty good. When we think of the 90s, we think of Pulp Fiction and Schindler's List, but we don't really think of Batman and Robin. It's everybody's favorite. Now, even in the first decade of the 2000s, so 2000 through 2010, there were many people expressing this exact same sentiment, that movies aren't as good as they used to be, that everything in theaters is crap, I was born in the rotten decade, sort of thing. But now that we're all the way through, well through to the 2010s, we can look back at the 2000s and realize just how many great films we got out of it, and which films can truly stand the test of time. From the year 2000 to 2009, we got Memento, There Will Be Blood, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, No Country for Old Men, The Dark Knight, Pan's Labyrinth, Mulholland Drive, The Departed, American Psycho, Children of Men, Lord of the Rings trilogy, Spirited Away, Kill Bill, Donnie Darko, Old Boy, Shaun of the Dead, $1 Million Baby, District 9, The Pianist, Unbreakable, Black Dynamite, and the list goes on. Yes. That was ahead of its time. No. Wow. Wow. So how is it that we're living through a decade like the 2000s? As we're living through a decade like the 2000s, we all complain that there's no good films anymore, but as soon as we give it enough time that we've forgotten every forgettable movie, all of a sudden the 2000s start to look every bit as legitimate as each decade before it. I think it's safe to assume that people complained all throughout the 80s and 90s that films weren't as good as they used to be without fully realizing that they were in some great decades for film. Now, where does that put the decade that we're in right now? Well, we've still got a few years left before the decade's over, so who knows what's in store. But even though we're not finished with the decade yet, there's still plenty of amazing films out there that are more than worth your time, a lot of which I've covered on my channel. Part of what I try to do with my top 10 of the year videos is dig for the films that I consider to be worth watching, try to find them so that you don't have to put in the effort, because honestly, considering most movies are crap, even most indie movies, like, it doesn't even matter what genre you're in, like, most movies are crap, but it's worth it to go through the crap to find the truly great ones. Just in this decade, we've already got Birdman, Inception, The Wolf of Wall Street, Mad Max Fury Road, 12 Years a Slave, The Social Network, Black Swan, Baby Driver, Gone Girl, Inside Llewyn Davis. Crap ton of movies that I don't even really have to list, but I will. Whiplash, Amour, The Revenant, The Master, Upstream Color, La La Land, Anomalisa, Son of Saul, The Look of Silence, Arrival, The Handmaiden. Handmaiden was awesome, by the way. You should check it out. Moonlight, Her, The Act of Killing, Prisoner's Mummy, Magical Girl, The Hunt, Moonrise Kingdom, Grand Budapest Hotel, Drive, Certified Copy, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I Am Love, Enter the Void, Incendie, or as not French people call it, Incendies, Exit Through the Gift Shop, and the list goes on. There are amazing films being made every year, and we now have more voices in film than we've ever had before. Something that you'll notice about each decade going forward when we talk about films that stand the test of time is that independent films are taking up a larger percentage of that every time. So even if, let's say, if Hollywood completely abandons funding original ideas, it almost doesn't even matter at this point. It doesn't even matter if every Hollywood studio-funded film from now until the end of time is a gigantic piece of garbage, because the industry is learning to create great things without it. It's easier to make a film than it ever has been before. I watched a film recently called Tangerine, and it was actually shot on an iPhone. And it was pretty good. It was actually pretty funny, and the decision to film it that way actually added a lot to the overall trashiness of the film, which is kind of the vibe that it was going for. But it was, I would recommend it. It was a fun watch. So you could technically make a film on your phone, and if you know what you're doing, then you can make a good film. Back in the 90s, making an independent film was a huge effort compared to what you have to do today. Early films from directors like Kevin Smith, Darren Aronofsky, and Christopher Nolan, you'll notice that they were in black and white. And it wasn't for stylistic purposes, but because it was dramatically cheaper to film in black and white instead of color. Digital cameras have very much changed that. It's hard to find any film being released in theaters at this point that use actual film and not digital. The only directors still using film are Quentin Tarantino and Pablo Larraín, who both love the film aesthetic so much that they're willing to suffer through its cost and impracticality just to achieve the look that they want to present. Obviously, there's other directors that I didn't list, but it's very, very difficult to find any movie playing in theaters that was actually shot on film at this point. Shane Carruth, awesome writer-director. He wrote and directed Upstream Color, and he filmed it on a Panasonic GH2, which is a digital DSLR camera that's only a few $1,000s. It had beautiful cinematography, and it's a fantastic film both aesthetically and overall. Because of him being able to film on digital, and because it's easier to make a film than it ever has been before, cost-wise especially, Upstream Color had a budget of just $50,000. Now, in filmmaking, many would consider $1 million to be a low budget. For perspective, Napoleon Dynamite had a budget of $400,000. And that movie looks way cheaper than it is. But filmmaking's expensive, and Upstream Color was dramatically a better film in my opinion, and more impressive, but it was able to be made with a dramatically lower budget too. Shane Carruth, he's only ever made 2 films. Upstream Color was in 2013 and Primer was in 2004. Would highly recommend both of them. The budget for Primer was $7,000, which is nuts. And despite that, it had a huge success, and Primer is often considered to be one of the best science fiction films of the new century. It is one of the most complicatedly intricate films ever made in terms of its story structure. There's plenty of films out there that you don't really get until the second watch. Primer is a film that you'd be lucky to fully understand after the 5th watch. I rented that movie so many times when I was younger, and I'm not even sure I completely understand it, but it's really good. There's also plenty of films that take time to get noticed or to become truly appreciated. One example of that is 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was actually fairly unsuccessful when it came out. Even though today we consider it to be a classic and one of the greatest films of all time, critics in the 1960s were actually fairly polarized, and the overall reception of the film could best be described as mixed. It's safe to say that even today there are films being made that won't wind up being truly appreciated until many years from now. One of my favorite films ever made is a 2008 film called Synecdoche, New York, which if you watch my channel, there's tons of memes going on about that film. Written and directed by Charlie Kaufman. Part 6, When, right? Charlie Kaufman is my favorite screenwriter, and he's responsible for films like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Being John Malkovich, Anomalisa, and Adaptation. And right now it seems as though people are starting to wake up and truly appreciate how important and ingenious this film is, in my opinion. But when it was released in 2008, it was considered a financial failure. It had a budget of $20 million, and it only made back $4.4 million. And as for the critical reception, it was fairly polarizing as well. Many called it pretentious and incomprehensible, but at this point, there's a growing number of people who consider it to be one of the greatest films of all time. It also got booed at Cannes Film Festival, but they boo everything, so, I mean, what can you really say about that? It's very strange. It's considered like one of the most prestigious film festivals of all time, but they're quick to boo everything they see. I don't even know why they do that, but they do it. I guess it doesn't really help that this is the kind of film that really benefits from being watched more than once as well. Now, although not enough time has passed yet that we'd be able to call this film a classic, I'd be more than willing to bet that it'll eventually be considered one. Yeah, I guess in summary for that, I just wanted to get across that there are great films being made every year. You just have to look for them. And even though Hollywood might not focus on original ideas as much as they used to, that doesn't stop great ideas from getting out there. Not only is it cheaper to make a film than ever before in terms of cost, but we now have crowdfunding. You can fund a film without even having a Hollywood studio or producer. You can fund it directly from the audience if you have enough interest. You can distribute it digitally, Netflix, YouTube Red, Amazon. Yeah, that's all I had to say about that. There's another topic that I really wanted to get across. I know a few people were kind of intrigued about, I guess, what I consider to be a great film, or what I look for in a film if I'm going to give it a high rating, and I guess how my rating system works too. So I just wanted to touch on that, and then we'll go into Q&A, which is like the panel was supposed to start now. But I mean, I tried to get Q&A in the title of the panel, but for some reason it didn't show up. So, but yeah, I mean, I just wanted to have like a really relaxed panel compared to last year. It was just like I didn't want to be talking about legal issues. So this is the part where my notes get really point form. So excuse me while I ramble a little. What really matters to me in terms of what I consider to be great out of a film is its presentation, and that's part of the reason why my favorite director is Michael Haneke. I hope I pronounced that right. I don't think I ever will. It's not enough people say his name. I think he should say his own name. You know, that would help. But he's an example of a director that every bit of intent is shown through the film. Like he's a master at framing, and he's a master of controlling what's in the frame and what's not in the frame. Almost everything that you see in his films, you can pretty much expect that it was intentional and that it had some sort of a purpose. He's very, very meticulous in terms of crafting each shot, and every time he's ever had extras in a film, like he's shown shots of like huge crowds of people where every single person in the crowd was essentially given a very specific way to act or place to walk, and it always seems so natural, which is just something that I consider to be rare in films, is getting a real natural feel out of people's performances and out of the overall feel of the film. I also love him because he utilizes soundtrack in a very strange way, where if there's a song playing in his film, the song exists within the film's universe. So rather than having a composer score a film, he'll essentially take songs that either a character's playing in the film, or that a character was playing on the piano, or a track that a character played in the film. And even though it overlays on top of different scenes and there can be almost sort of like montages, he never breaks the rule of having music that doesn't exist within the film's universe. And when I say rule, it's really just a rule that he sets up for himself. I think it's very important for filmmakers to set their own restrictions, and that really helps. It really helps give each director a sense of style, and that's what I really like about him. And then as for, just overall in general, what I would consider to be a great film versus a not so great film is I try to think of it in a way where I try to balance or weigh achievements versus flaws. So a lot of people might think, like, you would have thought this movie is perfect if it weren't for these small nitpicks that you had to say about the film. That's not the case. Usually, there's plenty of films that I can think of where they have technical flaws within them, but their achievements outweigh the flaws so much that I still consider them to be great. One of them is Gattaca, which is a awesome, fantastic film. Love the soundtrack, love the cinematography, love the plot, love the story, love the universe. But it really starts to fall apart if you think, why weren't there security cameras? But despite that, I still love the film, even though that's what I would consider to be a pretty glaring plot hole that almost ruins the movie in terms of its believability and its consistency. But either way, in terms of achievements, it's not necessarily like, okay, this film didn't have any mistakes. It's a sense of what did the film do to impress. So if you think about it, you could have a film called Paint Drying on a Wall, and you literally just set the camera up, point it towards a wall, fresh layer of paint, press record, watch it dry. It's like 3 hours long, single shot. Technically, that's a flawless film. But it in no way offers any sense of achievement. It in no way offers any ability to impress. And so you can have a technically flawless film. You can have technically no mistakes in a film. But if it doesn't do anything to push boundaries or to really show off a director's skills by having like impressive oneers or like beautiful cinematography and like go out of the way to become above the bar or above average, if it doesn't do that, then that's what I'd just consider to be like a 5 out of 10 movie. It's just average. Like you didn't screw up, you didn't do anything particularly well. That's a 5 out of 10 for me. A lot of people seem to think that rating systems 1 through 10 start at 10 and then only go down if you have issues with the film. I prefer not to think of things that way, because then Paint Drying on a Wall would be a 10 out of 10 and just as good as the best movies ever made. So that's why I try to have my rating system be that 5 is just the average, and then it can go up or it can go down depending on how amazing it is, how impressive it is, or how badly it screws up. So Megan is Missing, that's a 1 out of 10 film. There are 0 redeemable qualities to that movie, and it screws up in pretty much every way that it could possibly screw up. Oh yeah. Has there ever been like a really good, like, the internet is scary kind of movie? Because it seems like I cover a lot of those. There's Cyberbully, there's Unfriended, there's Megan is Missing. There's a lot of, I think that's my favorite genre of bad movie, is like technology is scary and it's clearly made for like really senile old people, or perhaps its target demographic is young people, but the old people making the film don't understand that young people understand the technology a lot better and aren't that stupid. Yeah, so this is we started really early, and like I said, casual panel, and I just kind of wanted this to be a little bit of a discussion and a Q&A. And it looks like I ran out of things in my notes, which is totally fine, and I kind of anticipated such a thing to happen. But with the Q&A section, if anybody wants me to like further elaborate on anything or touch on a subject or like rant or ramble about anything, then that's fine too. I need somebody to, oh, there you are, to help with the mic. That was a good half an hour of scripted stuff, but yeah, not bad. That's like, thank you. If we didn't start the panel ridiculously early, that would have been half and half. So I think that's fine, right? Anyway, I'm assuming there are questions here. You can pick. I don't want to seem like I'm playing favorites. Right?
There we go. So it's actually really cool to actually meet you in person. You crack me the fuck up, and
thank you.
I watched Cyberbully to make fun of it with my friends way before you made the actual review, and that's one of the few times when we actually couldn't breathe because we couldn't believe that someone was that inept. But I guess my question would be, what got you into, like, have you ever seen like Mystery Science Theater or anything like that? And do you plan on making any kinds of riffs or things like that?
Yes, although I can't really say that they served as any kind of like inspiration for what I'm doing, I guess. I had casually watched some of their stuff, and I'm looking to get into more and like riff tracks and commentary tracks in general. Like if we're talking about commentary tracks specifically, what I really consumed a lot was just regular DVD commentary tracks for films. And that's honestly how I wound up becoming aware of a lot of the production behind the film, and not just the production, but listening to the directors talk about what they're going for in a scene, or like intent, or you know, things that would happen on the set. It's actually just like my channel is the result of me watching every featurette on the DVD and like every commentary track and just being obsessed with it to the point where it's like, I didn't go to film school, so like I don't have a degree in this or anything. I just had a lot of interest, you know, like Quentin Tarantino worked at a movie store, you know. But yeah, if in terms of like inspiration for my channel, I would say Red Letter Media was a huge inspiration. Like, if you search my videos by like the oldest one, it's like it's a rip off of their style. But I was self-aware about it, and I poked fun at the fact that I was ripping off their style. And obviously, I've grown a lot from it, and you know, with each video that I've made, getting further and further away from their style and developing into my own. But yeah, it was just a jumping off point where, to me, that was pretty much the only way I'd ever seen it done, so I wasn't really sure how to express myself or have my own voice, and I was also like 19 years old when I started it, so yeah, that was a little bit of a ramble, but I think I answered the question in there somewhere. Cyberbully was hilarious. I watched that movie just to make fun of it too, and I had no idea how hard I was gonna laugh in that one scene. Like, no one could see that coming. Getting the cap off right now, by the way. What a film. Yeah, next question, I guess.
Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you in person. I've been a fan of yours for I think 4 years now, ever since a friend of mine recommended Cyberbully. My question is, has there ever been a point where you've thought to yourself, maybe I'm being too pretentious with my ratings, like giving Mad Max a 7 and Skyfall a 5 out of 10, or Terminator 2 a 10 out of 10, or have you ever thought of maybe being a bit too pretentious, or you just think, I think ratings shouldn't exist because ratings shouldn't detract, a score shouldn't detract from what makes a movie good. Like, I give Patriots Day a 5 out of 10. All my friends say, oh my God, Patriots Day, it's a life-changing masterpiece. I think it's on a technical level good, but sorry. On a technical level, it's good, but I think it's a 5 out of 10, but I still recommend it because it's a good movie.
Yeah, there's plenty of films that I recommend to people based on their tastes, even though I might not consider the film to be great. And there's also films like that I would give a good numerical rating in my system that I didn't personally enjoy, like Rubber. Didn't like it, but I gave it a 7 because it made fun of itself and it knew what it was. Like, there's a scene in the film where like there's characters that are meant to be a metaphor for the audience watching the film, and those characters fall asleep in the middle of the movie. And so I was just like, okay, like I don't personally like this movie, but I'll technically, like, you're self-aware enough that I can be like, okay, this is a 7, I guess. But in terms of you know, being pretentious with my ratings, I think I think Anthony Fantano and I kind of agree in the same vein that it's important not to give too high of praise for things. It's important to save the 10 out of 10s for the truly exceptional and not just hand them out like candy. So I mean, it's all just a matter of like where you set the bar and where you set your own standards. So like I can watch someone like Chris Stuckman, and I know that even though we generally have like the same taste, that like the movies we consider to be great, we pretty much agree on. But from what I understand and what I've seen, he seems to rate things a little bit higher. So I can watch one of his films one of his reviews and not necessarily be like, oh yeah, I trust that his rating will be my rating, but watch one and say like, okay, he gave something like a 6 out of 10 or whatever his I think is like A through C or whatever rating, but he gives something like what would be considered to be a 6 out of 10 or something, and then I would know like, okay, well, that means that I would probably think of it as like a 5 or lower. Like I have my threshold's a little different, even though we generally agree on the same things. And by the way, I would also stress that that the number's there, but don't worry about it too much, because it shouldn't be used as an excuse to not pay as much attention to the words being said in the review. I think that's more important than the number at the end. The number is just kind of like a general feel of how much I enjoyed it versus how much I was impressed by it. So don't worry too much about the numbers. And also, if you know that my rating for Skyfall, then I didn't even make a video on Skyfall. You looked at my IMDb account, which so I on my IMDb account, if I haven't made a video on it, don't take it seriously, because like there's films that I literally just rate 5 out of 10 because I didn't finish it, and the reason why is because IMDb doesn't have a function where you can mark a film as watched. So if let's say I shut it off in the first like 15 minutes or something, I might forget that I tried to watch it, and I want to leave something so that when I look it up on IMDb before trying again, then I know like, oh, I tried to watch it or something. So that's why I do that. So if I haven't made a video on it, don't take the rating seriously. It's not. I wouldn't. Yeah, they're not. A lot of my IMDb ratings aren't like what I'd consider to be like real. And also, I've had the account for like 11 years now, so there's a lot of old ratings on there that I don't even know of, really. Yeah, I think that answered the question. No problem. Thank you.
First of all, I love your hair.
Why, thank you.
It's the greatest
You
ever.
have beautiful hair, too.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you. Okay, so you've talked about both the Disney movie Frozen and the one with the ski lift.
Yes.
Which one is better, and why is it the one with the ski lift?
Oof. Well, I enjoyed my. I don't know. It's tough to say in terms of like how much I enjoyed it, because when I saw the original Frozen, the 2010 ski lift film,
The best one?
which clearly the Disney film is based on. When I saw that, it was actually at Edmonton Film Festival. The reason why you haven't heard of it is because it's not that good. I used to live in a city called Edmonton in Alberta, Canada. It was way too cold, so I moved. But yeah, I saw it there. Wasn't sure what I was getting into, and me and my friend Shay, and I think another friend was there, not really relevant. We had a very fun time laughing at that film. It was a very, very funny movie to us, so much so that we did not regret buying tickets to see it at all. And I guess after that experience especially, and I was always kind of waiting to touch on that film on my channel, and I figured that 500,000 subs was a good excuse to do a haha, I'm reviewing Frozen again meme. I liked the Disney film. Like, I have my gripes with it. You know, also, you know, that's also sometimes why I express the rating, is because I think a lot of people think that if I spend an entire video criticizing a film while still giving it some praise, obviously, a lot of people will come out of that and think like, oh, he hated the movie, but that's not true. You know, I enjoyed Frozen for what it was, the Disney, well, both of them, I guess, but and I would consider the Disney one to be a good film. I would not consider the ski lift one to be like that good of a film, even though at the end of my review I do kind of give it some credit.
No, it's clearly
like,
better.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, that just rambling on.
So you kind of touched on this already, but as movies become easier to make and produce, and you know, do you feel that the better movies upcoming will no longer be large box office movies, and they'll be more like, you know, kind of like how Quentin Tarantino started as an individual that said, I'm going to make a movie, and he went something that was very unique, and he did, and he successfully has carried that through most of his movies. Do you feel like that is where most of the better movies are going to come from in the next 10, 15 years?
Well, I'm always, whenever I like look at upcoming films, I'm always more excited about the directors themselves. And so a lot of films that I'm excited for are really like film festival indie movies. And when I was talking about earlier, is that I mentioned that there was some truth to the movies aren't good anymore thing before elaborating on it. And that truth is essentially that Hollywood does seem to be straying further away from funding original concepts because, you know, it is a business, and when films get funded, unfortunately, a lot of the times, it's less about making a great film and more about making a return on an investment. So right now, like where we are in filmmaking, we're really I think we're at the point where we have like more reboots and remakes and sequels and extended universes and all that than we ever have before, particularly because Marvel has shown some great success with that. And you know, when you have something that successful, every other studio is going to look at that and be like, I want to do that. Like, why aren't we doing this? Like, they're clearly doing something successful. And then when they try to do it and they spend the entire first film setting up all the extended universes and then somehow forget to make a good movie in there. Fantastic. That was good. Yeah, it is kind of a trend. And so, like, where the money goes only really dictates what kind of films we're going to see out of Hollywood or like big budget films. There's always the odd director like Tarantino or Christopher Nolan that they can get funding for no matter what they want to do. Like, if somebody, you know, the only reason Christopher Nolan was able to make Inception and get funding for it is because he's proven that he's a director that has a name that people will see his film no matter what. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's not going to look good; people will see it. And you know, he really earned that spot. And I would like to see more directors that studios consider to be trustworthy in terms of a financial return, because the more that they put their trust in a director, the more that we'll be able to see like actual creativity. And so that's why right now, most of the films that I'm excited for are independent films, is because there's pretty much a guarantee that the director's vision won't be tampered with or compromised because of the need for a financial return. And so we've seen it time and time again where a lot of films get ruined that way. I would highly suggest looking up The Thing 2011 could have been, because they actually did a lot of practical effects that looked really cool, and then the studio decided, for whatever reason, to cover it up with really bad CG. It was a very wasted opportunity, and a lot of times, unfortunately, just because money's involved, we get wasted opportunities where, you know, the individuals making the decisions for funding the projects aren't necessarily people that have a grasp on what makes sense artistically, or like what the vision of a film could be, you know. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but right now it seems as though the guaranteed return and investment is in soft reboots and extended universes and sequels, and until that changes, then Hollywood's not really going to change. You know, you look at a film like The Matrix, like how on earth did that get funded? That's such a wild idea for the time, and it's amazing that it got the money that it needed to truly bring that vision to life. And so, who really knows? Like, I'd like to see more instances of that happening, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen all that often anymore, unfortunately. Jupiter Ascending was pretty fun. I don't think the Wachowskis are going to get that much money ever again.
You know the director of Arrival is making the new Blade?
Yes, that's why I'm excited for it. Yeah. So, like, yeah, I mean, like, if we were talking about, like, you know, like the new Blade Runner film, I wouldn't be excited for it unless I knew that it's in safe hands. I think that's actually very important to keep in mind, is like, don't think of the film you're about to watch as like the property attached to a film you love. Think of it as like the director or the cinematographer or the writer, you know, like it's in their hands and they're going to have control over what the film turns out to be. If people were smarter about that, if people like did their research and actively, you know, cared about who's making the films, then we'd see very different trends in Hollywood, you know. Like, a lot of people will see a sequel to a film and be like, I had no idea it was going to be so bad afterwards, but it's just like, you understand that it's not directed by the same director as the original. Like, no matter how bad you want the same feeling as the original, and no matter how deceptive the trailer is for the film, you have to understand that the director plays a very, very important role in in terms of what you're going to get out of the film and what the quality and tone of the film is going to be. Yeah, next question.
Hi. One of the films that you recommended that I really enjoyed was Adaptation. And in the film, they share a philosophy of, like, if you wow the audience in the third act, you got a hit. Would you say you agree with that philosophy of, like, you know, the third act has made you enjoy the film even more, or vice versa, where the third act has basically ruined the film for you?
For that film specifically? Yeah.
Any film, like that philosophy.
You know what? I'm actually one of the ideas for like a list kind of video that I've been sitting on, and I don't know when I'm going to make it, but I plan to at some point. Is I had the idea to make a list of films that got ruined in the third act, because it seems as though so many movies will have something where it's like, it's intriguing to set it up, it's engaging to see where the setup goes and watch things play out, but then the film doesn't know how to end itself, and it's like the idea of wrapping things up to have a finale or closing, it's just like, this is a restriction on that it's like an imposition on the writers, especially, where it's the idea of, this is how a film's supposed to be, or this is what needs to take place in a film in order for you to have something called a film. And I think that that's really it's really limiting in terms of what a movie can be. You know, a lot of my favorite films are very like unconventional, that don't really follow the same set of rules or standards that are considered this is how you make a movie sort of thing. And with Charlie Kaufman, I haven't seen the film in a long time, but I from what I remember, I would love to see it again. I've been meaning to. But from what I remember, I mean, like he was doing it fairly ironically. Like he's very much playing on the idea of conventions. So, you know, it's a movie about writing a script to a film, right? And so it's very, very meta. And so I don't know. On my initial watch, I think I was pretty young when I watched the movie for the first time. On my initial watch, I was kind of like, I didn't really expect to see where the film went. I'm not really going to spoil anything, but it kind of caught me off guard, and I didn't really feel it as much. But after I've had time to like sit on it and understand like what it was going for, and just how the entire film is like ironic, really, then it put me in a position where it's like, can I really not enjoy this movie because of that? Like, I would like to see it again, and I don't think that any part of it is going to bother me from what I can remember anyway. All right, next question.
Hi, I was just kind of wondering, I'm not saying that I wanted you to review it or anything, but I wanted to send you a movie. How would I go about doing that?
Catch me on Twitch and ask for a place where you can mail it, because I send it. I mention like a little PO box thing every once in a while, or tweet me, and I'll just like share it there or whatever. I usually don't like. It's not my home address or anything, but I usually just don't leave that kind of stuff up because I don't want to have to worry about how much stuff I'm getting. But there, yeah, if you message me on like one of my Twitch streams or like on one of my Twitter accounts, preferably one of the ones with less followers, then I'll send you a address that you can send me a thing. Or alternatively, I can add it to my watch list, or maybe I already have it. Who knows?
I don't know.
What is the F? Oh, I know what that is. I tried watching it. It was very. I think I wanted to enjoy it, ironically, but I didn't give it much of a chance. I think that was when I was like making my list for like. I don't remember. I think it was like somewhere between 2010 and 2013, like one of those lists. And you know, when I go through. Before making my lists, I just pretty much go through everything on my watch list from that year, and some things on my watch list are ones that are films that have the potential to be amazing, and some are just films that like I only put on my watch list because I know they're going to be crap. So like, yep. So we'll see. I could give it a second chance. We'll try. Next question.
Have you ever seen Sergeant Kabuki Man, and would you ever review it?
I want to. I added that on my watch list because obviously Lloyd Kaufman's awesome, and the poster and the plot synopsis are very intriguing. So I would love to see that movie.
It's pretty incredible. I think it would. Make
yeah, I should get on that. My watch list has like over 1,000 movies on it. I'm not even kidding. So it's very difficult for me to get to find the time to watch more movies because I'm constantly watching movies, and it's like, yeah, especially with just how many I watch for my like top 10 of the year things, films that like nobody's gonna remember or have heard about that are just crap. That's where a lot of my time goes, but I will definitely check it out at some point. I'm looking forward to it. Next question.
Hi.
Hello.
So, have you ever found yourself on a ski lift that was barely about... No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Have you ever watched a movie that was so bad in your opinion that the next movie you watched that would otherwise be a good film ended up just being terrible to you?
It's like tarnished. No, I can't think of any time where I've like hated something so much where it's like left that kind of a taste in my brain and made me not enjoy the next film that I watched. I don't know. I don't think that's ever happened, but who knows? Maybe there's there's subconscious things going on in my brain that I don't understand, and maybe it has happened.
All right,
But
thank you.
thank you.
I just want to say I really enjoy all the hard work that you put into your content.
Thank you very much.
And did you leave Merck's room still with all the Creed stuff?
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Those are his. Yeah.
I didn't think I'd get the mic today, but
Mic drop.
are you anticipating the Cool Cat remake coming soon?
Okay, so what you have to understand. What you have to understand about this is like, it's not even. He's just adding like a couple scenes. He's trying to like republish the same film. So this isn't even the sequel.
No.
This is him making a Kickstarter that he canceled and then brought up again when he realized that he might not hit the target goal and that it was fixed funding. And he's literally the entire goal for the Kickstarter campaign is just to add a couple scenes.
If I recall, if the remake, that's supposed to fund the actual sequel that he's going to make.
It's very convoluted and unnecessary. Avant-garde, yeah. You know, I'd be happy to fund a Cool Cat sequel, but I think he's a man with very unrealistic expectations, and sorry. He's blocked me on 2 of my Twitter accounts. That could be. It's gonna be fat time for me. So yeah, I mean, basically, it appears as though, in his mind, he thinks that because he didn't get approved for Netflix, he thinks that if he added like 2 more scenes with celebrity cameos, that he could resubmit it and then it'll be fine. And I think he's like banking on the idea of Cool Cat all of a sudden becoming like a success on Netflix because of adding 2 scenes to it, and then that would help him fund a sequel. I think that's what's going through his mind. Sometimes it's difficult to tell. But yeah, it's not. That's part of the reason why I'm not like even excited for it. I just wish he would make an actual sequel and not go with this very. Like, he's George Lucas his own movie like 3 times now. Like, he's already re-released his movie with different scenes, and now he's doing it again. And we would all love to see more Cool Cat, I guess. I was actually supposed to be in his film Gun Self-Defense for Women. Fascinating title. And then he blocked me on Twitter after I made that fair use video, which I was giving him as much credit as I possibly could. I was very nice to him while at the same time destroying him intellectually. Well, I mean, if he was the one that was boasting about like his knowledge, he's like, I was a lawyer, like. When he clearly didn't understand fair use, and obviously like attacking my community on YouTube and making false claims against them, that's not cool. So I needed to step in and be like, hey, here's some actual lawyers who disagree with you. But anyway, yeah, so after that point, he took his like Indiegogo Kickstarter video that he had made for the Gun Self-Defense for Women film, and he deleted it and re-uploaded it with the only change being that he removed the part where he said that I would be in it. And so then, yeah, he blocked me on everything and didn't really want to have a discussion about it. And before I made that video, I seriously, like, I had emailed him like 2 different 10-paragraph long emails saying like, Here's what the Streisand effect is. This is why you should remove the claims on their videos. Even if you believe that you're justified here, this is not going to work out. Please don't do this. And then he just wouldn't do it. And it was just like, okay, I guess I'm making a video now. So, yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'll buy it. I don't know. I'll always support Cool Cat. Yeah. Next question.
Hey, Adam.
Hi.
We're my friend and I are also from Canada here.
Dope. Where? Which spot?
Ottawa.
That's far away from my spot.
So a lot of the movies I think you watch on Blu-rays, right?
A lot of the movies I love, I want to have a physical kind of collector's copy, essentially, which is what Blu-rays are at this point. So.
Yeah. My question is, with like the medium of watching films sort of evolving, would you be interested or sort of adopt like watching something in like a VR headset or whatever else kind of way you could consume a movie? I don't know, for like holograms or something in the future. But
I wish I was at Cannes in May, because this year was like nuts. Like everybody, every director in like the indie film scene who's like important released the film in the same year, and so the official selection was bonkers. But one of the things that they actually listed on their website on the I guess schedule was Alejandro González Iñárritu actually made a virtual reality film that was screened at Cannes, which I think it was like, I don't know, I think it was like an hour or less. It might have been like 20 minutes or something. I don't know if it was a feature length. But, you know, like a director I love who, you know, every single one of his films looks like beautiful. I would love to check that out. There was also that that promotion virtual reality scene for the film Alien Covenant that was not good. But yeah, I would love to see different mediums expressed, and obviously, like we're at a very we're at like the infancy of virtual reality. Like the HTC Vive, like it's Gen 1, you know, essentially. So we'll see where the technology goes, and I would love to experience something that was really tailored for a virtual reality experience, something that isn't just like, oh yeah, a scene in a movie, but you can also turn around, but something that, you know, that has some sort of purpose towards experiencing it in that way. We'll see what happens. There was a really cool episodic game where they only released one episode so far, but it's for the HTC Vive called the Call of Starseed or something. Like there was like 2 titles in one, but I don't remember. But that game was probably the closest that I feel we've gotten so far to a truly cinematic virtual reality experience. It's not like a perfect game, but it does do cinematic delivery very well. So I was really, oh yeah, The Gallery, episode 1, Call of Starseed is what it was called. But yeah, that I enjoyed that quite a bit, and I'm really hoping that there's enough of a market to kind of encourage and influence creators and directors to utilize virtual reality as a medium. We'll see where it goes. We're very early in virtual reality, and I definitely want to check out that Alejandro film. I think, yeah, I answered the question.
So what are the chances of you and Red Letter Media ever working together? Why,
I don't know.
Why aren't you on Best
Ask
or Worst?
them. Call them out.
Have you ever met them?
No, but I met Colin from Canada,
Awesome.
who lives in Toronto, and we hung out during the film fest last year.
Is he in Toronto?
I think he's in Toronto.
I'm going to go find
We
him.
were in Toronto together. And Jack follows me on Twitter. We've had some conversations. He's pretty cool. It's not up to me. If we're wondering why I've never been on their show, you should ask them. It seems I would, of course I would. But as far as I can tell, I mean, like the majority of people that they've collaborated with are not really from like the YouTuber community, and they're more so from like the filmmaking community. Like they've had like screenwriters and directors and actors and stuff. So I'm not sure they would want me on the show, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe one day I'll direct a movie and then they'll have to invite me on. It'll be better than Space Cop.
Seeing as how games are becoming more and more story-driven nowadays, with some of them even being basically movies that you play through, like Beyond Two Souls, do you think that they should be held to more of a higher standard considering stories like you do to movies, or that it's unfair to them?
At this point, I like to. I don't think they should be treated to a different standard, but I think that the context of understanding the limitations of a medium or where we are in terms of the industry's evolution, I think the context is important. So something like The Last of Us, I found to be like a very cinematic game. Like I was getting some like real emotion out of it, and like Naughty Dog is very, very clever about how they get the player to experience a scene, and they very clearly care about a cinematic presentation. And so despite that, and despite me really loving the game, I still feel like we have not really reached a point yet where a game can deliver on something that I would call it like flawless or like a true masterpiece. Like it depends what you're going for, because if we're talking about games cinematically is what I'm trying to reference there, because there's plenty of games that like Half-Life is an amazing game and it has cinematic qualities to it, but what really makes that game special, or even Half-Life 2, is like the expectations that they place on the player and how the player learns new information, and the environments, and there's so many more elements to a game than just like cinematic elements. So it's really difficult to try and judge a game overall when there's so many different elements at play. Yeah, I don't think that they should be held to a different standard. I'm very much looking forward to the day where I can play a game that has a pretty much strictly cinematic goal, not necessarily one that plays itself for you, but one where being cinematic is the focus. I'm waiting to play a game like that I can consider like flawless and perfect. Like The Last of Us, I loved the experience that I got out of it. But I mean, like the AI was really bad, and it was, at one moment you're like crying over somebody that died, and then the next moment, like Ellie is just running around in front of an enemy, and you're like, stop, like. So it's weird how she doesn't get detected ever. She can like run right in front of their faces, and so yeah, there's tons of like glitches and just weird things about the game that. That I could not, that prevent me from being able to say, like, that I truly believe the experience as a whole. But at the same time, it kind of goes above and beyond cinematically in many ways, too. Like, there was a point near the beginning of the game where there are some people fighting, and the soldiers are trying to break something up, and then I was just like, I like to kind of dick around in games. I love to just mess around. And so I kind of just went over to the soldiers, like tried to push past them. They're like, you can't go through here, and they pushed me over. I'm like, yes, I can, and I walked towards them. And then they pushed me down to the ground, shot me, instant death. And I was just like, wow. Like, it's cool to play something and have your actions actually have consequences to them. I feel like a lot of games really don't deliver on that in as much as they can. I'm always impressed when I try to mess around with a game and wind up not giving it as much credit initially, and then because of how they anticipated for me to mess around with it, and they had a way to respond to me messing around that made sense, then I'm like, okay, wow, like they actually put effort in here. So anyway, another ramble, but I think I answered the question somewhere in there.
Hi. So my question has to do with kind of like a political thing, which is weird. But so for
Which is what?
Oh no.
I didn't hear one of the words.
Oh, it's just a little hard topic right now.
Okay.
But so for movies, and I know this was kind of a thing recently with the movie The Red Pill, where places were not wanting to show it. Do you think that they have the right to limit showing a movie because of their political agenda?
Well,
and the movie's political agendas?
You know, I think, well, so Australia is where that got banned, and only in certain theaters. Like, it wasn't banned in the whole country. I think it's important to, you know, even if a country has hate speech laws, to not use that as an excuse to like misrepresent the content of the film. Now, I haven't actually watched the film yet. I will at some point. But as far as I know, like, even though the film is clearly expressing a viewpoint and has an agenda that some people might consider to be offensive, as far as I know, like, it's not actual hate speech. It's not calling for you know, the death or discrimination of groups or individuals. So clearly, I mean, like, the issue with that movie, I mean, like, most people that were trying to get it banned hadn't seen it. Like, these were initial screenings of a film, so it's like, how can you even be trying to get it banned if you don't even know what the film's saying, really? So, I mean, I haven't seen it, like I said, but I mean, like, if it seems as though, like, if there was any content within the film that could be considered hate speech, then it would be banned on a legal level, and no one would have to resort to rallying to try and get individual theaters to stop it anyway. Like, Australia bans a lot of stuff, you know, that they consider to be objectionable. So, yeah, I mean, like, that's obviously an issue, whether it be for that kind of a documentary or you know, just objectionable content in a film anyway. Like, a lot of films have been banned in countries just because they're, like, excessively pornographic or excessively gory, you know. Like, I think, you know, as long as you're not making, like, a snuff film, then it should be fine. You know, at the end of the day, there's nothing forcing people to watch something, so you know, if you find something objectionable, then don't watch it. It's as simple as that. Next question. We've got like 8 minutes left.
Yeah, I just want to know what, since you're a critic, a film critic primarily, I want to know what a critic and what separates a mediocre critic or critique from maybe a great one. And what should they really be analyzing? What should there be their method? What should be the mindset of, you know, beside the basics? Don't let your own personal tastes taint your whole critique. So, and I guess that's more, you know, in broader sense, maybe going into, you know, it could go into anything, book, video game, you know.
I think one of the more important things that you can hope to achieve as a critic is to be able to express an opinion that, you know, there's no such thing, like, I could never give my opinion on a film and have literally everybody agree with me. But what you can hope to do is express yourself in a way where the people that do disagree with you at least understand where you're coming from. And I think that that's one of the more important things that you can do, is articulate yourself well enough so that even if someone goes like, oh, okay, well, that didn't bother me as much, or okay, but I still hated this, they understand and can empathize with why you have your own perspective on a film or any kind of medium. So, I mean, yeah, it's the most important thing that you can do in terms of criticism is be able to argue your point well. Don't just treat it as though you're preaching to the choir and that everybody should already understand why it's good or why it's bad. Try your best to articulate yourself and explain things to other people that to try and help them understand your perspective is what I would say. Next question.
Hey, Adam.
Hi.
From Vancouver here as well. My question to you is, you sometimes talk about, oh, something has great cinematography, something's shot really well, or shot really, really bad. Just my question is, because you mentioned how you have no formal education on this stuff, what are you basing that kind of opinion on?
Well, so like, there are some aspects to a film's aesthetic that are like really easy to be able to point out. Like Suicide Squad was way too dark, you know, and a lot of films in that universe. I just watched the new trailer for the Justice League, and all I was thinking the entire time was like, why haven't you learned? Like, people are complaining that the film's not bright enough, not because like I get you want to have an artistic choice, but it's going to the point where it's aesthetically displeasing to look at. So there's a really easy example right there. But then if we're talking like cinematography-wise, like cinematography, there's a lot more going into it than just like framing. So if we're going to look at framing specifically, you could apply something like the rule of thirds, but that doesn't necessarily have to be like a rule that is always kept into consideration. It's just a matter of, you know, being able to, for Michaela Haneke's films in particular, I've said this about, you know, the film The White Ribbon, like every single frame in that movie looks like it could be the poster. Like everything's set up in such a perfect way in terms of like how characters are staged and who you can see where, or like a character being visible in the reflection of a mirror because the angle's just perfect. Something like that, where you can tell that it wasn't just the director showing up on set and being like, camera here, you know, like that they actually put thought and effort into it, you know, like Xavier Dolan's decisions to change the aspect ratio in Mommy and Tom at the Farm. You know, like there's aesthetic purpose towards decisions in a film, and you can tell that it wasn't just like thrown together. You know, something like a Judd Apatow film, or like a lot of the a lot of studio comedies coming out at this point. You know, all they have in mind is like, okay, well the movie's gonna be riding on jokes being told by these characters, and unfortunately, they don't really put much thought into how they're going to present the film aesthetically, and all you see is just like frame above their head, chest, shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot, and that's the whole film, and it gets very annoying because it's like it seems like you're not passionate about what you're putting into it, but then you watch a film like an Edgar Wright film, and there's so much effort going into you know, how things are set up. Like, you could only imagine the storyboard that he must have written and how he wanted to communicate his ideas in the film visually. There's so much in his films that you could only communicate through a set-out plan, that you know which shot you're going to get where, how you're going to edit it, like all the montages he includes and all the recurring gags that he throws in visually. So, I mean, like, I don't know, you don't really have to like go to film school to be able to pick up on these things, and I feel like you know, the fact that I've been so passionate and interested in the subject just independently of like I've swallowed up all the DVD commentaries and featurettes like since way before I was ever doing anything on YouTube, just because it's one of my interests, and I feel like what better way could you get that information than the people making the films themselves, literally just telling you on the commentary track or telling you in the featurette. Like, that's a direct communication from artists explaining their work. And I think we got time for one. We've got like 2 minutes left.
Hi, I just wanted to ask what your opinion of Wes Anderson's films are, his directing style in general.
I feel I love his films. I find it very very cool that like an indie style director like him is able to, at this point, be included on the list of directors that can sell a movie with their name. Like, he's up there right now in terms of like selling a film based on your name alone. He's up there with like Nolan and Tarantino, and like there aren't that many directors that you can say that about. He's got a very nice aesthetic to it, and I've very much enjoyed watching his films grow. And after it almost seemed as though, like, after Fantastic Mr. Fox, with him experimenting into stop motion, that he's actually incorporated a stop motion feel into the films that he's presented after that point, in terms of like framing and action. And he's got a very nice, precise, like symmetrical look to his films that I appreciate. It's always a very fun tone to watch, so I can definitely see why they're so sellable. And yeah, that's pretty much it. My mom sent me a text. Thanks, Mom. We're out of time. Thank you so much for joining. This was great. Thank you guys so much.